day 6 of the Bridechilla 30 Days of Wedding Planning, and I'm Alicia, the founder and host of Bridechilla and the author of the Bridechilla Survival Guide, ring, and the Bridechilla Field Guide, ring, and also someone that does bad sound effects with her mouth. Today on this episode, I want to talk about the guest list, and in particular, 3 people that I would recommend you ditching from the guest list if you are struggling to cut it down. Now, this is very relevant whether you are planning a wedding with 500 people or 5 people attending. There are always people that seem to creep on the guest list that don't need to be there. The big key thing to remember when you are planning a guest list, and this is so easy, anyone can do it, is when you look at that big long list of people, when you've done the guest list brain dump, is what I recommend in the survival guide, is go through that list and you put a little mark, a special cross next to anyone on that list that does not make you smile. Anyone that you're like, ugh, I would have to fake smile to welcome them to my wedding. And that's a pretty good indicator that they don't belong on your wedding guest list. It is a simple little task that I guarantee will help you immediately ditch people. And that wasn't even part of the 3 people. I'm giving you a bonus thing. Before I jump in, I want to suggest, if you haven't downloaded the Bridechilla podcast I have produced a bunch of episodes that really hone in, I want to say go deep, but it always just sounds a bit porno, that really hone in on how to formulate a plan for your guest list and how to work with your partner to make sure you are both inviting people that are meaningful in your life. And that's the key. People who are meaningful in your life. Here's one that you could ditch straight away. Work friends. I don't know if you're like me. I mean, I'm a contract worker. I move around. I'm a creative person, move around from place to place in the television industry. That's my day job. I meet a lot of amazing people, good people. I make work friends with them, which is my sort of way of saying we hang out at work, we go and have lunch and stuff. We probably don't see each other much outside of work, and they've probably never met my husband. Some people have, but we're not really close friends when it comes to outside activities. You may have worked at the same place for 10 years and you've got a really solid little crew of people. I'm not suggesting you don't invite them to your wedding, but I do think sometimes we're in the workplace and people hear us talking about our wedding planning and they celebrate your engagement. They might buy you a cake and a card. And because they're involved on some level in your life, you then feel obliged to be inviting all of these extra people to your wedding. So I just ask you to really look around the office or your place of work and think, who are the people that I think will be a part of our future? Who are people that have met my partner? Who are people that know me and us outside of work? And that can be a really good indicator of who you should be inviting and who you might not be planning to invite. I always say the awkwardness of not inviting a work friend is better than the awkwardness of looking at a wedding photo in 20 years' time going, who the fuck is that? Do you remember who that guy is? I don't know who he is. Did you work with him? I'm not really sure. So, work friends, that's an easy couple of people to cross off the list. And look, if you have 1 or 2 really close work friends, invite them and ditch the rest. It can be awkward. You'll get over it. Life's tough. Move on. Number 2 are parents' friends. I don't care if your parents are contributing money or not. If they're inviting 23 of their closest friends from tennis club, that doesn't work for me. And it doesn't work for you either, especially if you've never met these people. Sure, give your parents a couple of friends to hang around with at your wedding if you can afford it and if it's something that works with your plans. But for them to be inviting people in their lives just to show off you guys is lovely, but completely unnecessary. And I really want to say you do not want to be introducing yourself to someone at your wedding. That's wrong and we shouldn't be doing it. Maybe you have friends of your parents in your life that you've known for your whole life and they're significant, important people in your family history and you have a relationship with them. Great, invite them. But I suppose the big part for me in this parental guest list conundrum is them just adding, 15 people to the list that you couldn't give a shit about or don't have any connection with at all. This is not a dinner party for them to just invite their friends to. This is your wedding. Please remember that. The third one is a rule that Rich and I, my husband, really used in our wedding planning, because we had a wedding with 50 people. It was quite a small, intimate event. We had a venue that only fitted, I think it was 55 people was the cap of being allowed to be housed in this one area. And that becomes with insurance as well. This is not just us saying we can only cram 50 people in. It was a very set number. They said no more people, we're not covered by insurance, and jeepers creepers, we couldn't have crammed anyone else into the space. So when we were looking at our guest list, we made a decision to not invite anyone that we'd never met, and that included partners of our friends, which is controversial. But we sort of said if they lived close by to us and they'd been in a relationship with this person, and we, over a period of time, had not met them or been in a position to meet them, then that's a bit weird. And why would they then be coming along and introducing themselves to us at our wedding? This can be sometimes construed as really harsh, and I'm certainly not saying if you have a really close friend that lives interstate or overseas and they're in a serious relationship and you haven't met that person, then saying definitely don't invite them. But I do think there should be some sort of bar to be set with saying, okay, we aren't going to invite friends, partners who we've never met, especially if it's, they've only been in a relationship for a couple of months and who knows if they're going to keep, going out. It's not a place for Tinder dates, it's your wedding. It's not a place for third dates, it's your wedding. So really think about the extended plus ones and all the extra people that may find their way onto your guest list, and think about what meaning those people have in your life. These are challenging times. I'm not saying it's going to be super easy. However, when you set rules and you stick to them, it can make things a lot more smoother. Remember, your guests are a part of your future, not just your past. I talk a lot about this on the podcast, and that goes to, I think actually, looking at our lives in general. We have all these hanger-oners, and also, Facebook has been a huge factor in this situation, that just because someone's liked a couple of your posts recently, how much do you know about their lives? When you haven't seen them for 5 years, but you went to college together and you're like, I probably should invite Tom. I haven't seen him. I don't know how many kids he has, but I went to his wedding 7 years ago, so he should come. This is murky waters, and I think you should be very mindful of not getting into feeling obliged to do anything when it comes to weddings, and especially inviting people out of guilt or feeling that you need to return a favor. There it is. There is so much more to say about the guest list. I've gone longer than I wanted to go, and still I've got like 15 things in my little brain list that I could tell you right now, which is why I'm encouraging you to listen to the podcast. Just search guest list. If you go to iTunes, Spotify, Android, wherever you find Bridechilla, you can then search into the episode back catalogue and really listen to those episodes. Tomorrow, oh my gosh, one of my favourite topics. Episode 7 is the fuck it bucket. You are going to want to watch this episode and learn about the fuck it bucket, because it is the most freeing thing, I think, that Bridechilla can offer you. And it's a fantastic ethos and concept of this fake imaginary, or it could be real. You could actually people have made fuck it buckets in the Bridechilla community. Amazing. A receptacle where you can put all of your obligations, all of your crappy DIY projects you thought you'd do but you don't, and all of the pressure and extra tat and stuff that you thought were important, was important, is important, but actually isn't. I love talking about the fuck it bucket, and I can't wait to share it with you tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you want to check out the books, I highly encourage the survival guide is the reading book, the doing book, and the feel guide here is the book that you take to appointments, the book you keep track of everything in, and also it contains all the lists and vendor questions you need to get shit done. Thanks so much for watching. Again, I'm Alicia from Bridechilla, and I wish you happy days.